Once upon a chilling, moonless night, in a remote corner of a forsaken town, there stood an abandoned gas station. The years had not been kind to the place. Its once bright neon signs had faded to a sickly greenish hue, casting eerie shadows upon the cracked pavement. Windows were shattered, and weeds overran the once pristine forecourt. No car had stopped here in decades, and most locals had learned to avoid it like the plague. This night, however, would be different. The road leading to the forsaken gas station was deserted, save for a lonely, flickering streetlight. A faint hum of tires on the worn asphalt heralded the arrival of a dusty, battered pickup truck. The truck's headlights cut through the oppressive darkness, revealing the terrified face of its driver, a man named Jack. Jack had been driving for hours, seeking refuge from a sudden storm. With his fuel gauge flirting dangerously close to empty, the gas station appeared like a beacon of hope in the desolation. It was a choice between running out of gas or facing the foreboding gas station, and Jack chose the latter. As he pulled up to the decrepit pumps, the wind howled, sending shivers down his spine. The gas station's solitary, dim light buzzed overhead, casting eerie, dancing shadows that seemed to whisper secrets of its grim history. Jack glanced around, his heart pounding as though it wanted to leap out of his chest. With trembling hands, he exited the truck and reached for the rusty pump. He cursed under his breath as he realized there was no power. He began to regret his decision, but there was no turning back now. An old, weathered payphone stood nearby. Jack decided to give it a try and dialed for help, but as the phone connected, he heard only static on the other end. His growing unease was disrupted by an odd sensation, a feeling of being watched. He spun around, scanning the shadows for any sign of life, but found none. The wind whispered chilling secrets, and the rustling leaves sounded like sinister laughter. Jack decided to check inside the gas station for a phone or any sign of life. He approached the sliding glass door, which creaked open reluctantly. Inside, the dim light was just enough to reveal the dilapidated interior. Abandoned shelves were lined with forgotten snacks and cobweb-covered candy bars. The remnants of a once vibrant store now seemed like a graveyard of forgotten desires. The cash register sat on the counter, its drawer hanging open, empty as the void. A flickering neon sign above it read, "Service with a smile." But it was the graffiti beneath it that sent a shiver down Jack's spine. In crude, trembling letters, someone had scrawled, "Leave now." Jack felt an inexplicable urge to heed the warning, but his fuel gauge told him otherwise. He had no choice but to search for a working pump. He moved toward the back of the station, where a shadowy alleyway led to more gas pumps. The air grew colder, and the darkness seemed to press in, making every step a test. At the end of the alley, Jack found another set of pumps, just as rusty and ancient as the first. However, there was a working one among them, its handle still attached. Jack grabbed it and began to pump fuel, his eyes darting around nervously. As the fuel began to flow, he heard the distant laughter of children playing. He looked around but saw no one. Confused and anxious, he tried to ignore it, telling himself it was a figment of his overactive imagination. But the laughter grew louder, and it seemed to be coming from the dark woods that surrounded the gas station. Jack's heartbeat quickened, and he redoubled his efforts to pump gas. He wanted to get out of this place as soon as possible. The laughter continued, and now he could hear whispers in the wind, whispers of his name murmuring and mocking him. As the fuel gauge finally reached a satisfactory level, Jack turned to leave, his breath fogging up the cold glass of his truck's window. But then he saw something that made his blood run cold. The children's laughter and whispers had drawn closer, and they were now standing just outside the glass door of the gas station. Jack's heart raced as he saw them, a group of children, their faces obscured in darkness. They wore tattered, old-fashioned clothing, like something from a bygone era. Their laughter had turned into an eerie, high-pitched giggle that sent shivers down his spine. One of the children, a little girl, pressed her face against the glass, her eyes as black as coal, and whispered, "Join us, Jack." In a state of sheer terror, Jack fumbled for his keys, dropped them, and then scrambled to pick them up. He finally managed to start the truck and hit the gas. As the engine roared to life, the children began to bang on the glass, their laughter turning into a sinister cacophony. With a screech of tires, Jack sped away from the gas station, the echoes of the children's laughter and the whispering wind haunting him as he disappeared into the night. Back on the road, he drove for hours, not daring to stop until he reached the safety of a well-lit, bustling town. When he finally pulled over at a brightly lit convenience store, he stepped out of the truck, his legs trembling. The memory of the forsaken gas station and the sinister children still haunted him. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he had narrowly escaped something far more sinister than a simple gas station. He'd stumbled upon a place trapped between the worlds, where the souls of the lost lingered, seeking to draw others into their spectral realm. The warning he had found scrawled beneath the neon sign had been a desperate plea from a previous traveler who had not been so fortunate. As he filled up his tank under the comforting glow of the convenience store's lights, Jack couldn't help but glance back over his shoulder, half expecting to see the shadowy figures of the children lurking in the darkness. But there was nothing there, only the quiet hum of the night. Jack's heart still pounded in his chest, a chilling reminder of the night he had encountered the haunted gas station. He knew he would never forget the sinister laughter, the whispering wind, and the spectral children who beckoned him to join them in the darkness. It was a nightmarish experience that would haunt him for the rest of his days, a tale he would pass down to anyone willing to listen. A cautionary tale of a forsaken gas station and the horrors that lurked within its desolation. Weeks turned into months, and life returned to a semblance of normalcy for Jack. He managed to put the haunting memory of the forsaken gas station behind him, chalking it up to an overactive imagination. He even found a new job in a different town, working as a mechanic in a bustling garage. However, the nightmares persisted, a nightly reminder of that ominous night. One evening, Jack was chatting with his co-workers in the garage. The topic of ghost stories came up, and the memories of the forsaken gas station began to resurface. As he recounted the harrowing tale of the spectral children, his colleagues listened with rapt attention. One of his co-workers, an older man named Frank, interrupted with a solemn expression. "You've been through something few can comprehend, Jack. There's a reason they warned you to leave. That gas station is known around here for being cursed, a place where lost souls are said to linger." Jack scoffed, thinking it was just an old man's superstition. Frank continued, "My grandfather used to tell me stories about that place when I was a kid. He said, it's been haunted for generations. The townspeople avoid it, and nobody knows who built it or when it was abandoned. They say it's a gateway to the world of the dead." The chilling tales that Frank shared sent shivers down Jack's spine. It seemed that the forsaken gas station was more than just a figment of his imagination. The memory of the children's faces pressed against the glass, their dark, hollow eyes, and the chilling whispers echoed in his mind. In the weeks that followed, Jack's nightmares grew more vivid and intense. He dreamt of the gas station and the spectral children beckoning him to return. They spoke of a curse that had bound them to the place for eternity and begged for his help in breaking it. Unable to bear the torment of his dreams, Jack felt compelled to return to the forsaken gas station. The townspeople, however, refused to accompany him, speaking in hushed tones about the malevolent forces that inhabited the place. Jack knew he had to go alone. One moonless night, he found himself once again driving down the desolate road leading to the gas station. The oppressive darkness and the eerie howling wind enveloped him as he pulled up to the abandoned pumps. The gas station appeared just as decrepit as before, if not worse. Jack approached the sliding glass door, which creaked open more easily than before. The interior remained as he remembered, filled with abandoned shelves and cobweb-covered snacks. The neon sign above the empty cash register still buzzed with an eerie green light. As he ventured further inside, a sense of dread began to wash over him. The air grew cold, and the shadows danced menacingly around him. It was as the very walls of the gas station were whispering the names of the lost souls that had found their way here. The chilling laughter of the children echoed in his ears as he reached the back of the station. The eerie alleyway leading to the gas pumps lay before him. Jack knew he had to confront the sinister forces that lingered in this cursed place. With determination, he approached the same rusty pumps he had used before. This time he grabbed the fuel handle and began pumping gas, all the while trying to push aside the haunting memories of his previous visit. The laughter and whispers were relentless, growing louder and more ominous by the second. Then, a spectral figure appeared at the edge of the alleyway. It was the little girl, the same one who had whispered his name on his previous visit. Her eyes were as black as coal, and she pointed towards the woods. "Help us, Jack! Break the curse," she implored, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and desperation. The shadows around the gas station began to converge, taking on eerie, ethereal forms. The other children, faces hidden in darkness, started to emerge from the woods. Jack felt a surge of sympathy and resolve. He couldn't leave these lost souls to their eternal torment. As the pump clicked to signal that his tank was full, Jack turned to face the children. "I'll help you," he said, his voice filled with determination. The spectral children let out a collective sigh of relief, their ethereal forms dissipating. The darkness that had gripped the forsaken gas station began to recede, replaced by an eerie, otherworldly light. The little girl extended her hand, her eyes now filled with gratitude. Jack took her hand, and a surge of energy coursed through him. The very ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble as the curse, binding the gas station, began to weaken. In that moment, Jack understood that he had become a part of the gas station's tragic history. He had the power to break the curse and free the lost souls trapped within. As he and the spectral children stood together, the forsaken gas station began to crumble and disintegrate. The ghostly children began to fade away, their forms turning to light. They offered Jack a silent farewell, their faces filled with gratitude and peace as they vanished into the night. The gas station, once a place of torment and despair, was now reduced to rubble. Jack returned to his truck, the nightmare of the forsaken gas station finally behind him. The memories of that night would never fully fade, but he knew he had done the right thing in helping the lost souls find their peace. He drove away from the crumbling gas station, leaving behind a place that would haunt him no more. As he continued his journey, he glanced back one last time at the fading ruins in his rearview mirror. The forsaken gas station was no more, its curse finally broken. Jack had turned a place of darkness into one of light, and in doing so, he had not only freed the lost souls, but also found a sense of closure that would allow him to move forward with his life, free from the horrors of the past.